be considered and remain confidential. This BES
The Arizona Commission for the Deaf and Hard of Hearing, they follow the state laws for licensing for interpreters. We have specific codes that correspond with a specific grievance process and what the penalties are for that. And that's what we're going to look at today. So if you have a grievance with an interpreter, you have a 90-day time frame in which you can actually file that complaint. So if you forget or you let that get away from you after that 90 days, the complaint process is no longer valid. Doesn't matter if the individual has a license or not. But if you feel like the interpreter was maybe you didn't feel like the interpreter was maybe following the state rules, or maybe they weren't following the CPC, or you feel their code of professional ethics, maybe they were in violation of that, you can also record yourself explaining what you feel, or record yourself with that grievance. Also, their certification can be suspended if it's a K through 12 education interpreter. Um, they must have an IEP meeting. Maybe the parents or the child is deaf. They should be a licensed interpreter. After the interpreter's left, and you maybe might decide to, maybe you think that the interpreter broke confidentiality, you can go ahead and file a grievance. But where do you do that? And there's a website that we can provide you with that you can fill out a grievance. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in a form filled out. It actually can be recorded. So you would need to have your name, the name of the interpreter, the details of what happened, the area in which you are located, explaining very clear each of your points. And also explain where you feel the interpreter was not correct in their delivery, what that may have been. So you do need to make sure that you do put down your contact information and your address. Anything that you've written down, anything that you've observed, make sure that you have all of your documentation ready for that complaint process to send that off and send that to the Arizona Deaf and Hard of Hearing Commission. And you'd send that to our department, and the address is on the form. You can send it over to us. So CDHHS, once they receive it, they will let you know that they have received it, and that they will start an investigation process. Someone from the staff will contact you just to clarify, and also from CDHH, they may also investigate with the interpreter to find out their perspective as well. And CDHH staff also, what they'll do is they'll make their own documentation, and they will give that to the board. The board will then include all of their documentation at a board meeting that's to follow. Both the individual who is filing the grievance and the interpreter will be informed about this meeting. The board will check into that and also make sure that the individual has an appointment card ready to go, explaining the details of that meeting. They will also be discussing what the complaint was, and also the interpreter will have the opportunity to clarify. So they'll also go to the state legislature to make that complaint. There will also be a vote to determine whether or not they should move forward, how they will move forward. So after they've reviewed all of the information, the documentation, they'll feel if there was enough valid information if they felt the interpreter did break the CPC, or if they were in violation of that. And if they weren't, then they would drop it. If they are, then maybe there could be a fine for the interpreter, and they may discuss that and arrange what that fine may be. Another option may be that they can no longer be certified, so they may revoke their certification.
In a big group, it's going to be more like a state level situation. If it doesn't go higher up, they'll leave.
If you feel like that's not appropriate, then it can be escalated higher up, and a judge will take a look at it and then look at other options. So another option could be, yes, that they could be fined, they could be suspended, their license could be suspended, maybe temporarily. They could revoke their license, saying that they can't work in the entire state of Arizona at all as well. So the interpreter, if the interpreter does not agree and does not agree with the board, the judge will be the final determinant. Actually, the judge will not be the final determinant. So if he's not acceptable, if they're not accepting what the judge has to say, they can take it to a civil litigation, to a civil court, and pursue it there.
OSHA will look over it, and they'll see if they'll fine, if they'll give the suspension, a short licensure suspension, or if they're going to break their licensure and terminate their employment as an interpreter all over the state. It could go to that court, or it could be discussed in civil court. The person who complains, if there's, if they decide later on and they change their mind to drop the charges